at 8:02.
What up? What up?
It is 8:02 on a Friday morning. Focus Friday live.
Good morning, Jamaica.
Good morning, Sean.
What's up, everyone? How y'all doing out there?
Out there in TV land.
Oh
Is
no,
it
you
TV
did
land? Is
not.
it called TV land?
You did
I'm going to be 50 in
not.
September. So that makes
uh,
complete sense that I said out there in TV land, even though most folks are either watching this on a phone or a computer.
yeah. It's kind of sad. I'm kind of sad this morning.
Why?
I mean, it is gorgeous outside.
Well, it's a little wet right now.
Yeah, but it's gorgeous still to me. We don't have any music this morning.
Right.
The hell?
We because
With all that trouble.
we did. And now we're getting flagged
Now we
for
get copyright infringement.
copyright infringement.
What we gotta do, y'all? What we gotta say?
We are getting flagged
Uh,
for copyright infringement. So while we figure out how to, I don't know.
how to navigate that nonsense?
Yeah, like what does it take? Because I see people use music all the time.
All the time.
All the time. I don't know. Maybe they're paying royalties. I couldn't begin to tell you, but it's a real possibility, I'm sure. Um, but here we are on another Friday, ready to.
Here.
We're still here. We are still here, making sure everything's working. We are here on Friday, and our new usual is to start with the quick community calendar updates.
Calendar update.
Quick community calendar. It's a very long list today, actually, of things that are happening right now or coming up in the next few weeks of June. Today is Flag Day.
Okay. And I see you have the Palestinian
I
colors.
I do.
Flag.
Yes.
Okay.
There actually is a local Palestinian woman who made this. She lives in Scotia. If anyone wants to hook up, let me know. So yes, for Flag Day, I'm repping Palestine.
Nice.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Indeed. And another important message specifically about today is starting at 11 a.m. at the Palace Theater is the celebration of a strong community leader, Esther Patterson, at the Palace. Starts at 11. I think doors open at 10. And also, folks have been asked to wear red, black, and green to her celebration. Those colors happen to cover a couple different countries, and she indeed, it is hard for those of us that knew her, and anyone that recognizes her name knows that she's done a lot of work in the capital region. So Palace Theater, 11 o'clock today, the celebration of Esther Patterson. And then the list goes on because today's only Friday. Tomorrow, the Albany African Heritage Parade is happening. Then Sunday is Father's Day. Happy early Father's Day.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You. Actually, I got an early Father's Day card from Sylvia Jemison, who recently retired from the development department in Schenectady for the city of Schenectady. And we went to her retirement party. So she sent me some pictures and
nice.
I was like, hey, she said, I'm not sure if you're a dad, but I think you are. Happy Father's Day. So I really appreciated that. That was yeah. Thank you, Sylvia. She's doing a lot of comedic stuff now in her second. No, I'm serious. It's her second. That she worked. She retired, and now this is what she wants to do with the rest of her life.
Nice.
So shout out to Sylvia for that.
So yes, Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Juneteenth is coming up on Wednesday, which is important for folks to understand and know what Juneteenth is. We're not going to go into it right now, but we will say for those parents, remember that your kids don't have school.
Oh, wow.
There's no school on Juneteenth, middle of the week. So plan accordingly. Also, next Friday, we're not going to be live.
And it's for a great reason.
It is a great reason.
It's a great reason.
You want to say what the reason is?
It's one of my favorite young people in the world. Soon to be I'm saying he's going to be the supreme leader at some point. Our favorite Roman Miles.
It's his birthday. Yeah. And it's a whole thing. So we're not going to be here next Friday. We'll be celebrating with Roman. And the week of June 24th, there's a whole bunch of graduations.
Okay.
As well as last days of school, half days of school. Parents, again, check your calendars. Know if you've got a 5th grade graduation, an 8th grade graduation, a high school graduation, what date, what time. Know all the details. And before that is Black Restaurant Week. How could I miss it?
Cannot miss it.
Jamila
made me hungry thinking about.
I don't know how many restaurants she's got participating this year.
I haven't seen the list.
I saw the list and it was very long. Like I couldn't even get through the list. There were some folks from last year, but there's definitely some new restaurants. Y'all need to peep it out. If you type 518 Black Restaurant Week, you'll be able to find the details on social media. It's going to be good food, good times. Schenectady Hamilton Hill Art Center's Juneteenth is the 21st and the 22nd.
Okay.
Albany's Juneteenth Freedom Fest is June 22nd, starting at 3 p.m.
At the Henry Johnson Park.
Listen, it's on our page. The details are on our page. If there's an event that has created an event on Facebook, we share it to our page. Make sure folks are able to get all the details because I don't want to mess it up. That includes Friday, June 28th, Lucid Voices, Open Mic, Electric City Barn. Jay Nova is going to be dropping some bars.
I haven't heard that name in a
I know. It's very exciting. Wow. Very exciting. So there's lots going on in June, including the primary elections.
Huge.
June 25th, primary elections. Also a big deal for Albany.
Yeah, I did see. Thank you for sharing that with me yesterday.
Yeah.
Got a lot of people vying for that assembly seat that Patricia Fahey is vacating.
Yep.
And it's going to be an interesting race. She just endorsed someone. We'll see how that goes. Fahey isn't the most popular, but she definitely is a staunch Democrat, firmly embedded in the Democratic committee. So we'll see how it goes. Gabriela Romero is definitely very popular. Owusu Onane is also another popular individual in Albany. It's going to be interesting to see who gets that seat.
And I mean, in that vein, right? Here we are. Primary elections are happening in lots of different places. At the state level, at the federal level, there's conversations about what's going to happen in our federal government and some of the fights that are there, because folks tend to, focus on the presidential election, right? They're like, I'm just worried about the president. This is the big deal. And not considering what's called down ballot, those other seats that are in the Senate and Congress, who are having conversations about whether or not to allow IVF, in vitro fertilization for families that are struggling with having a child, as well as contraception.
As well as what our kids are going to be learning in these schools, right? There's a whole lot going on, and I think that as a society, we historically have not paid close enough attention to what's happening beyond, what's going on with the presidency. I mean, this year's presidential race, it's a whole lot going on with that.
It is. But we can't forget that the primary election, right, starts with Albany's got a heated race.
Yeah.
No question about it. It's why Black voters matter. It's why being civically engaged and aware matters, because a decision is going to be made about the 109th district in Albany.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other races. There are Senate races, and folks need to be informed. So League of Women Voters puts information out. The TU actually has put out an article of all of the races, kind of an informational, here are the local primary races. So I do hope that folks will get the information, get out and vote, be civically engaged, because if you don't, they will.
I mean, it's really interesting when you think about the energy that goes into everything else but the shit that really matters, right? Yeah. All the nonsense that we see that comes across our social media platforms and other, television sets. We don't do enough of talking about what it means to be civically engaged with your community, how, it's about taking ownership of your community, how you have a say-so what's happening there, the amount of money, right, that comes
so much
through
money.
Your municipalities.
So much money.
Yeah, we don't pay close enough attention, and we've kind of taken our eyes off the road and the wheel. And this is why we are where we are.
And the decisions, right, about how it's spent, So when folks think, oh, okay, I go and vote and then it's over,
Yeah.
it's not. The accountability of those individuals that are elected to office, which then I think in my mind sometimes becomes daunting. I got a job, I got kids, and you want me to worry about whether or not the person elected to office is doing the thing they said they were going to do?
Exactly.
Well,
it's structured in a way that definitely it removes, it just creates obstacles. I'll put it that way, to a person being involved more significantly than not. So
yeah, and this is true across the Capital Region. While we're talking about Albany, because there are so many big names, I think that's where I'm going to say it. There are big names running for Fahey's seat, as well as the race for Neil Breslin. Right?
Yeah, the Senate seat. Yeah,
it's a big deal. Be aware of what those other races are, because at the state, local, and federal level, it does impact us. Decisions are made about how money is spent, what investments are made. It matters.
It matters.
It does matter.
It matters.
And so, primary day, June 25th, get the information. And while we keep it in, the Capital Region, what's been happening in Schenectady, Sean?
I mean, it's kind of, we've had, as you all know, who's watching this, has been paying attention the last few months. We have been pushing our city council here in the city of Schenectady to pass a resolution for a ceasefire. And we had a very interesting city hall meeting, city council meeting, excuse me, this week. And many voices came out to talk about why it really mattered, why it was important. I spoke, you spoke, many people in a Muslim community spoke, many people in the Jewish community spoke. I like to think that we had more folks from the city of Schenectady, and we had a very diverse community show up to talk about why, why it was very important for us to have the collective voices of the city pass a resolution for a ceasefire. And and we heard kind of from people that were opposed to it, kind of the very same kind of storylines about why we shouldn't, which to me, as I sat there and listened, like I'll let you jump into it, but there was a lot going on.
Listen, I appreciated that you were taking notes. Because of what we did here, I quickly want to say, we titled this "Conflating Criticism with Hatred" because that is what we've been confronted with and accused of. Very much not just during the city council meeting, but the bias reporting that has happened from both the Daily Gazette and the TU in creating this one, false dichotomy of Jewish versus Muslim that doesn't exist, and two, in being very weighted in its interpretation from Zionist Jewish individuals. And so we were there Monday night with, indeed, yet again, the largest contention of Schenectady city residents, which we have held for 3 months. There are over 1,000 signatures from Schenectady residents in support of a ceasefire resolution from a diverse group of individuals, as always, including members of the Jewish community. And I do want to give a special thank you and shout out to those from the Jewish community that stood up and spoke in support of the ceasefire resolution in the face of a room of some of them that they go to synagogue with. I do understand the bravery to stand within your community and to have a differing view. And it takes a lot to do that. And I know at least one of those individuals had not spoken publicly before, just like not ever. Like this was the first time they had stood up to speak publicly. And it was about there being a ceasefire resolution in support of ending the brutality against Palestinians. And she said that from her Jewish faith. And it was a very brave thing to do. And she wasn't the only member of the Jewish community to speak in support. I just don't know the other person as well, but to each of them, like, thank you so much to lend your voice, along with white folks, Black folks, Palestinians, Muslims of different ethnicities and regions. It is beautiful for me, to watch how we have been united in this cause across our differences.
That's the first, the thing that you mentioned, that's the first intellectually dishonest point, is that somehow this dichotomy, and it's just Muslims versus Jews, as if the entire Jewish community is a monolith and believes one thing in one way, and as if this is, as if we're not human beings, we're not people with many varying perspectives. And we've seen this across many social media platforms. We've seen this in our own community. There are many in the Jewish community who do not agree that what we're seeing in Gaza needs to continue to happen.
Correct.
There's many on all levels, from your academics to your corporate to whatever, that are saying, like, this is wrong and it needs to stop. So I think the storytelling aspect is very, very important, because when you frame it that way, that's how those tropes and those the names that they like to call, like, that's how it I think gets more traction, because we're having our mainstream media is supporting those views. That is the economy, right? Like, when in all reality, it's not. No. It's absolutely not. There's many in the community who don't believe, who actually agree with us that a ceasefire needs to happen. And I'll just from a very human perspective, without taking away all titles and everything, and just looking at what I've seen for all of these months. I mean, as objective as you can be, like, I feel like personally, that has to stop. The thousands upon thousands upon thousands of individuals being slain, killed, children, or just innocent Palestinians, period. I think it's time for it to stop, and I think it's been time for it to stop. And we have an entire world of people who are saying the same thing.
Collective voice.
It's like 140 plus countries are like, wait a minute.
Yes.
We need a ceasefire.
And over 100 U.S. cities and towns have passed resolutions.
Yeah. Over 100.
Right. So, but the argument is, or at least there are several, right? One of them being, so during the committee meeting, John Mudavarian said, of course he wants a ceasefire and peace, but, what am I going to do? Take this resolution and deliver it to Tel Aviv? This is what John Mudavarian said. Like, this isn't going to do anything. We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
The president of the United States moved his position because the world.
Yeah.
And the additional collective voices that continue to grow, just like many of the city council members have talked about the importance of civic engagement and going to vote, and that every voice makes a difference. Yeah. So to John Mudavarian and anyone else that says, I don't think this is going to make a difference, then what do you believe about the electoral system in our country, and whether or not people should be civically engaged?
What do you think about any of the rights that we have and how we got those rights?
Yeah,
it's because people stood up and they said something, and they stood in the storm. They weathered the storm and the pushback, because the things that were said were unpopular. Unions weren't popular.
No.
Right. Unions weren't popular, and they were all there was, they had a thing called union busters, where people would come, crack heads for people who would dare to demand more, right? And the same thing with any of the actions that go against the status quo. When you stand in that storm, that's how change happens. It doesn't happen from doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I feel like, honestly, I feel like there's way more going on than just like, hey, we can't do anything about it. I think it's a resolution. It's a symbolic gesture.
And Black Lives Matter on J Street.
Yeah, it's a symbolic gesture. So, and the fact that it's difficult to even make a symbolic gesture that peace matters, right, tells you a whole lot about what's going on and the influences in our community. That our city council and our other folks in our community have to deal with, because you find it difficult to pass a resolution that says ceasefire stop the innocents from being killed.
We on both sides. This isn't a one-sided thing.
I mean, at this point, to be honest with you, yes, there are hostages that are held right now, still held and are dying.
Yes, the ones that haven't been murdered by the IOF soldiers rescuing people.
IDF.
We don't call them defense.
You don't call them defense? No. Oh, the offense? Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't. Okay, I get it. But it's just like, there and the hostages need to be released, and the killing needs to stop. Yeah. And the detained thousands and thousands of individuals that have been detained without due process and all that should be released as well. At this point, if it's not diplomacy, what is it?
Right.
We're only going to see more devastation, and then the United States government at this point has even put their own ceasefire resolution to the ICC. I believe it's been adopted to the UN. Like, there's all these people that come together and are all saying the same thing.
Right.
But here in Schenectady, a symbolic gesture.
Well, one of the
too difficult to pass.
One of the other arguments, and it's not the Israeli offense forces, it's the Israeli occupation forces. So that's what the O stands for when people say IOF. But one of the arguments is that from some of the elected representatives at the city council, we need to focus on local issues. This is a federal government problem. Yeah. This is not a local problem. We have so many issues here. It was Joe Mancini who said we need to focus on infrastructure, education. I think he also said healthcare. There was a third thing, but a local issue, and that's why we should not be talking about this within the resolution, which, by the way, is going to be public.
Yeah.
The People's Resolution. It actually says we should be using these resources for our local communities, that we don't want the United States to spend our money on bombing babies. I'm paraphrasing. These aren't the exact words in the resolution. Everyone will be able to see it soon. But we don't want people to be bombing babies. We want you to invest in our communities. So to Joe Mancini's point, that we need our federal government to prioritize our local communities, we agree with him.
Yeah.
And as an advocate for the local community, it is the responsibility of elected officials to advocate at all levels. You know where the money is. You've gone to get money for other things before. So you could absolutely use this as a moment to advocate for the city and say, listen, we don't want you to use this money to drop bombs on Palestine. We want you to invest in our local communities because we need infrastructure, education, housing, healthcare, the list goes on and on. So Joe Mancini, thank you.
No, I mean,
we agree.
The billions of dollars that are being spent on this genocide, this devastation happening in Gaza, could be used right here in America for many in our communities. We need a lot. We still need a lot. There's, cost of everything is skyrocketing. Jobs aren't as plentiful. I keep reading these statistics about, like, this generation the next generation will be, are worse off, economically than the generation before. It's the first time that's happened in a grand scale in the country. We're not going to talk about the different demographics because, the Black community has always been in a separate kind of in the wrong place. When it comes to that type of stuff. But it's just interesting that we've always got money to spend on war and on death, but we can't even get proper health care in our own country.
But Israel gives health care to its citizens with US dollars.
Yeah, with the support of U.S. money. That's
right.
That's so right. And the billions and billions that are sent there, and
it absolutely happens. The other piece was that Doreen DeToro and Carmel Patrick said we just shouldn't be involved in international issues. Only focus on local. They said this is not a local issue. This is only an international issue. Do you agree with their assessment, Sean?
I mean, in all seriousness, we just talked a little bit about how this definitely has local significance. And just ignoring that argument just for a second, just ignoring, oh, do we need to deal on local issues, right? And when you, well, I guess I won't ignore it. I guess I got to kind of address it straight up because there's another point I wanted to make just about the idea that a symbolic gesture can't encompass more than just what's happening right in your own backyard, but it can encompass something as devastating and historic, significant as what's happening in Gaza today. The fact that we've had more than 1,000 folks that have signed petitions, the fact that it's been hundreds of people showing up at city council meetings, telling people how what's happening there is impacting them here. It's a slap in the face, and so it's a dismissive slap in the face from our elected officials who are telling us, despite what they're seeing, despite the people that keep showing up, that this isn't an issue. You know what I mean? This, we should just deal with local. This obviously is local.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is obviously local. You don't have Israelis or Palestinians coming to city. You got your own people that live here in this community.
City residents
coming here, to tell you that it matters. And it's dismissive as hell. And I would go even further, go back to the committee meeting where they were actually talking about this. And you could, the tone and tenor that those two words that Carmel used to elicit, to say that she was, the tone and tenor of the city council meeting made her fear for herself and she felt physically in danger. The tone and tenor of the city council members, many of the city council members, just talking about this resolution was so, it was just so cold and dismissive. Why were you, they were just so frustrated. Why are we even talking about this? Why is this something that, why is it important? As if the 1,000 plus people that have signed petitions, the hundreds of people showing up don't even matter.
And that then they try to create, I felt like, some potential either slippery slope or snowball effect that, oh, well, if we have to talk about this, which you did have to talk about it, you didn't want to talk about it. Yes, the people forced you to talk about it. You kept trying to sidestep it. And then you realized you didn't really have a choice and you had to talk about it. So you did.
Yeah.
Well, then we're going to have to talk about the Congo and the Sudan and Haiti. Yes. If members in your community come to you from those cultures saying, we're concerned about this, then yes, you do have to have that conversation. If your community is able to show you the direct tie from the local to the national, then yes, it is your responsibility to have that conversation. And in the draft resolution, that is the people's resolution, it actually addresses some of that.
Yeah.
About the city of Schenectady being against all forms of racism and Islamophobia and anti-Semitism and all of those things. So it does encapture this global call for peace, while also lifting up how the U.S. has been supportive of the genocide in Israel. The word that no one wants to say, right? Even though the UN has said at least 3 acts of genocide have been committed by Israel, and the United States stood up and said, we are in support of and stay in line with international law.
Mm-hmm.
International law has said genocide. So it's not both and, Blinken.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say we support international law unless, we disagree with it. So this is where we are, where, city council statements are continuing to be debunked, very much like how Israeli propaganda continues to be debunked, which is a lot of what we heard from Zionists in the room. While at the same time, I feel very comfortable talking about the fact that I understand people whose lives have been, this is their lived experience. This is their understanding of the global society and the role of Israel, and that Israel's not the bad guy and Israel can't be the bad guy. And you can't talk about Israel because they are being told if you speak against Israel, then you are speaking against Judaism. Except there's an ever-growing Jewish community that has stood strong and explained why speaking against Israel is not anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and there's an entire history here that's very interesting and it's deep, and it's got all the different kind of perspectives and schools of thought about why this is and why this isn't. And I'll be honest with you, like I could get into those discussions. We could have those debates. We could look at history, and we could kind of suss out, like have those arguments about what's what. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. What we're saying simply is that a ceasefire needed to happen or needs to happen now because of the devastation happening now. All that other stuff is about justifying it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right. All that other stuff you're telling me about the right to the land, we were here first, they were here last, whatever, they did this, they did that, we're doing this. October 7th happened.
Yep.
And if you were devastated about what happened, as I was, and so many people around the world were, when you heard about the thousands, like more than 1,000 people that were just killed in moments, right? Yep. I've seen the footage. I've seen it, people just getting shot through the cars, and I've seen it.
Yep.
Right. So, like, if you're devastated about that, how are you not devastated about all the days, weeks, and months after that? Right. Yeah. Like when you're seeing children lose their parents, children lose their limb, parents lose their children, kids starving to death. Like, how?
Yeah.
So they talked about something called the 3 Ds, right? And it was demonize, double standard, and it was another one. Delegitimize, right? Is it not a double standard to say I am devastated by what happened, by what happened in Israel, but not devastated by what's happening since to innocent people? Yeah. Right? Is it not a type of demonizing to say that those people in Palestine somehow are responsible solely for what's happening to them, and they need to give up Hamas? Right? Like it's their fault that it's happening.
Yep.
Right? Is it not delegitimizing everyone that's just saying a ceasefire needs to happen by saying that it's Jew hater, anti-Semitic?
We want peace.
So my thing is, it's just like that's what's a struggle for me, and I've been struggling for. I ain't gonna lie to you, because we had so many folks in the Jewish community who were staunch supporters of what was happening during BLM.
Yep.
They would come out, they donated money, they stood in lockstep, they were like, this is right. And then historically, there's a connection between the Black community and the Jewish community on so many levels as it concerns civil rights. I'm talking about from freedom rides to sit-ins to the whole, you know what I mean? Even to the foundation of what the NAACP is, right? We have all these intersections with the Jewish community, and to be in this moment and to see this divide between some in the Jewish community who are like, you can't say anything against the state of Israel, and others in the Jewish community who are like, what are y'all talking about? This is crazy. And then to be, it is dismaying. I do not take it lightly. I think it's something that is extremely serious. And I think the mindset of anyone who thinks that what we're seeing in Gaza is okay and is only the fault of those people that are being killed, I think there's something terribly wrong with that. And I know I'm not going to change any one of their minds by what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's important that regardless, that people stand up and they stand up for what they believe in. And I'm standing on the side of the people. Like, we got to pick sides. I'm standing on the side of justice instant.
Historically proven. Historically proven. We are over on time.
Yeah.
We're back in 2 weeks. Because next Friday, everybody just imagine that you're yelling into the ether, "Happy birthday, Roman."
Yeah.
Because it will be a great day he's gonna be 7. He's gonna be 7. And those that have known Roman for his entire life can't believe that
I got one more.
It's already 7. One more thing to mention.
One more thing to mention. Then we'll jump off. And give me 30 seconds.
Give you 45.
There, Lexus Figueroa and Sarah
BLM.
Had a press conference yesterday after Lexus's first court appearance. Facing some violations of ordinance charges for allegedly being the leader of what was actually looked like a collective effort group leading a march around Free Palestine, around a ceasefire in Gaza. And they singled him out, and they have charged him with, I can't remember exactly what the charges were, but the charge was something. And listen, that man, let me just say this. Saratoga, y'all about to be paying this dude
so much
money
because they continue to target
him, to violate his rights.
They target him relentlessly.
His constitutional rights. So just wanted to shout out Lex, and Saratoga BLM, and absolutely, and the work that's happening there, and they're standing in the fight in the same way we are. So just want to say that.
And to everybody else everywhere, because we know there's a lot of folks in different places. Grannies for Peace. At noon today, we'll be at Erie Boulevard and State Street with their every Friday at noon with their signs calling for peace for Palestine and an end to all war, because they are anti-war group. But it's been another Focus Friday. We'll be back in 2 weeks. But check us on Facebook, Instagram, join our email list. There'll be stuff going on. Just because we won't be here Friday, we'll still be out in them streets. So
we might have a whole new look.
You never know.
You never know.